Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here this evening. I've got 6 o'clock over here, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to move some stuff around really quick. My name is Holly Grand, and I'm going to be facilitating our webinar this evening. Before we get started, I do just have a few quick reminders that I want to run through. Your cameras, microphones, and chat are all going to be disabled during the webinar. If you have any questions at all that you would like for us to answer, please use the Q&A feature that we have. It's located on the bottom of your screen in Zoom. The button that you'll use to access the Q&A looks like 2 little chat bubbles. You can type your question there at any point during the presentation, and then we will respond to it at the end. If you want to provide any comments about the proposed mariculture site here that we're discussing this evening, you must do that via email. We are not taking comments through Zoom. The contact information, the email address where you can provide your public comment will be shown on the screen a little bit later in our presentation. And you will also be receiving a follow-up email from Zoom tomorrow with that same email address, as well as a link to our YouTube channel where a recording of this webinar will be posted. And I think that's everything that I want to go through. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Lindsay Campbell to begin our public meeting.
All right, thanks, Holly. Hi, I'm Dr. Lindsay Glass Campbell. I am a biologist with Coastal Fisheries and work in the permitting of the Cultivated Oyster Mariculture program. We'll abbreviate that as COM generally and throughout the presentation tonight. Also on the line to answering questions if needed are Christine Jensen, the ecosystem lead for the Galveston Bay ecosystem, and Christopher Steffen, who is a biologist in the Galveston Bay ecosystem. I'm going to share my screen for the presentation now. So this is the public hearing for proposed site G-0006, a mariculture grow-out facility in Galveston Bay. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide information on the Cultivated Oyster Mariculture program, provide the information about the proposed site in Galveston Bay, specifically West Galveston Bay, answer any questions on this proposed facility, and give instructions on how to submit official public comment. A brief background on the Cultivated Oyster Mariculture program. TPWD started accepting applications for this program in September of 2020 for off-bottom mariculture grow-out farms and nursery hatchery facilities. Off-bottom mariculture are cages and floating bags placed in permitted areas of public waters for oysters to grow to harvestable size. Those oysters are oyster seed from hatcheries, and they're stocked into the floating cages and bags. And the oyster cages are worked and cleaned to produce a valuable product for consumption. Applicants nominate their own sites and conduct a natural resource survey of the site to ensure that the site is not impacting any natural resources. Some types of gear commonly used are floating cages, where you have a larger cage with bags of oysters, and these bags are rigid plastic mesh, and these cages can be flipped to desiccate to help control algae and other predators for the oysters. And then the feeding position are the floats up and the oysters and the cage down in the water. Also floating bags, so the individual bags with floats on them, and an adjustable long line system. The TPWD permit that authorizes the activity of mariculture has a 10-year term. An annual fee is paid based on the size of the location of the grow of the facility. Pardon me. The applicant must also get authorizations from other agencies, such as the Texas General Land Office, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and U.S. Coast Guard. There is an active use criteria for these permitted areas, so that the active use is that a certain amount of seed per acre, oyster seed per acre, must be stocked per year, so someone is not just holding a lease, holding a permit and a lease in a space and not conducting mariculture activities. Only eastern oysters from Texas broodstock are allowed, and harvest is allowed year-round, though these must comply with all Texas Department of State Health and Services regulations. The proposed site, G-0006, is an oyster growth out facility. It's located in West Galveston Bay and Shellfish Harvest Area TX9, which are approved waters, and it is proposed to be 2 acres. Here is a general vicinity map. It's located in Brazoria County, and in the general location, the star represents the location. This is Galveston Island here, and a closer up view, you can see the 4 corner points, access routes. This is the Brazoria National Wildlife Refuge land over to the west of it. The access routes proposed will be by boat, leaving from various boat ramps around the bay and coming to the site through navigable waters. This is the proposed site layout. What you're seeing are lines of cages. So main lines with 11 cages, individual cages along each main line, and in rows. The different rows are offset from each other so that the anchoring lines do not chafe against each other to prevent any sort of weakening of the lines or reduce entanglement factors for organisms. The gear type proposed to be used is floating cages, the 6-bag system. So a cage would be able to hold 6 bags of oysters within it. The maximum number of cages in a fully fledged out site would be 396. These would be anchored at the bay bottom, floating at the surface, anchored with 66-inch helical anchors and secured with 1/2-inch 3-strand lines. Navigational markers at the corners will be per the U.S. Coast Guard specifications when with marking designation. And along the edges, the proposed site has the sea light marking buoys. Proposed bird deterrent, if needed, are the hawk-away system or bird begone strips or long zip tie, what they call ticklers. So here is a diagram of the cage system. Again, 2 floats, a larger cage that the bags then are secured in. The bird deterrents, the hawk-away system is a kind of a flying hawk-like kite over that. And these are the examples of the bird begone strips or zip ties that prevent birds from landing and roosting on the floating cages. Access to the site is via boat at a minimum of once per week, though it will be daily, likely daily during high production and harvest season. The floating cages will be flipped for desiccation. All cleaning and repair work on gear will occur on private property located inland, not on the adjacent shoreline. Oysters will be sorted either using a handheld grading sieve or a motorized tumbling, and this will be as needed based on the oyster size and growth. And this will be on site, at the site on a vessel. And all oysters will be resubmerged a minimum of 14 days prior to harvest. Their hurricane plan is a tiered response to tropical storms and hurricanes that varies based on the distance and from the site and the time, how soon the storm would pass through the site. Prior to hurricane season, personnel will complete storm ready assessment. If the site is within the path of hurricane, these cages will be sunk prior to the hurricane and then would be refloated afterwards. This diagram shows the feeding position with the oysters down, the drying position with the oysters up, and then the submerged position if a hurricane was imminent. Here's a cross-sectional view of the layout with the main lines coming up. The main line then has the lateral lines that cages are attached to the main line with. And this just shows cages in the feeding position, floats on top, oysters down, the desiccating position, floats on bottom, oysters in the air, and then what this would look like if they needed to be submerged. The applicant also conducted a natural resource survey with side scan sonar, and here are the sample sediment grab sample locations plotted out for within the site and in the 200-foot buffer. The side scan survey was completed on June 17th. Grab samples were taken on 2 different occasions shortly thereafter within a 5-day period of each other. They were taken with a Ponar sampler. The depth of the site ranged from 5 to 6 feet, and all of the grab sample compositions were of mud or unconsolidated sediment. And this is an example picture representative of these samples. So the next steps for this application and this site is that we will be open and accepting public comments. Deadline for the next 2 weeks. The deadline is November the 9th. The public comments are be submitted to oyster.mariculture@tpwd.texas.gov. After that, a conditional permit is issued addressing any public comments as needed if they come in. With a conditional permit, the mariculture activity cannot begin, but that is when the applicants would go and secure authorizations from other state and federal agencies. Once those authorizations have been secured and presented to TPWD, we would then authorize and issue the final permit after the first annual fee is received and mariculture activity could begin at that time. So we'll open to any questions that you may have on this. I'm not seeing any questions typed into our question and answer box, but we'll give it a few minutes, a couple of minutes, so that if you have any questions, you can type them into the box there and we can answer those for you. And I'll go ahead and leave this screen up that again has the email address to submit your public comment to and your deadline for public comment. Okay, we have a question in the question box. The question is, how many cultivated oyster sites in Texas have already been through this process? We have 3 fully permitted sites, grow out sites. We have 1 fully permitted nursery hatchery site. We currently have 2 conditionally permitted grow out sites and 1 conditionally permitted nursery hatchery site. And then we have this site that is in the public meeting step, and then the next step would be the conditional permit. We also are in review of 2 additional applications that we have received, but we're just in the first steps of reviewing those applications. Christine or Chris, is there any comments that you have or anything I might have missed to add?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't we, while you can still submit questions, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand this back to Holly so she can give a few reminders. But again, if you have any questions during this time, you can still submit it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lindsay. So like Lindsay mentioned, please feel free to submit those questions to the Q&A before we wrap up here. If we don't get to you or your question before we hit end on this webinar here, you can always email us at that oyster.mariculture@tpwd.texas.gov email address, and we can answer those questions there and then. And again, you will be getting an email from Zoom tomorrow with that email address and the link to our YouTube channel where you can find the recording of this video. So I'm not seeing anything else, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening, and thank you to our panelists, Lindsay, Christine, and Chris. Have a nice evening, everyone.